Welcome back to the Elite Trainer Academy, brought to you by Mind Pump. Today, I sit down with Sal DiStefano, and we talk about how to deal with difficult clients, how to avoid client drop-off, and the importance of building a good relationship with a client early on in your relationship. I really enjoyed this conversation with Sal, and I think that you will too. If you do, please share. Enjoy the show. How do you handle difficult clients?
Oh, difficult ones. Yeah, depends on how you classify what a difficult client is. I think a lot of trainers would classify a difficult client as a client that is not following your advice. To which I would say that's probably going to be most people that you train. Most of the people that you work with, they're not going to follow a lot of your advice for a long time. And so your job as a trainer is to change your advice, change your approach on how you communicate certain things and to meet them where they're at. In other words, if I'm trying to talk to my client about changing something in their diet and it's just not happening, I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on and I'm going to revisit that at a later date when I feel like it's appropriate. And usually, often, that time looks like something that they prompt. Like, hey, I'm not losing as much fat as I'd like. It's, well, yeah, we haven't made some changes to your diet yet, so that's probably why. If you're ready, I think I have some places we can start. It's also, for a trainer, it's a great way to reflect. What am I doing wrong and how am I communicating things and where can I go and where can I start with this particular client? Where can I go with this client? Because this isn't working. But then finally, I would like to encourage trainers that if they're showing up and they're at your workout, that's a big step. I had many clients who did nothing else aside from show up to their workouts for, years. I would help them, I would advise them, I'd educate them, but it turned into a brick wall. And so I read the room essentially, and I stopped pushing in that direction. And I saw that they showed up. And so my goal at that point was, can I give them an effective workout? And can I make this an experience that they enjoy so that they can develop a relationship with exercise that will last longer than the amount of time they're going to work with me? And so that's what it would look like. And so I tell this famous story of one of my clients. He's a friend of mine still, who hired me to lose 35 pounds. And it took us over 3 years to lose 35 pounds. But really it was the last 4 months of that he lost 35 pounds. In other words, for the majority of the time we trained, he didn't lose a single pound because he showed up to train me twice a week and did nothing else. He did no changes to a diet, did no additional exercise. And so he got stronger. He improved his health. He got more mobile. He enjoyed the workouts, developed this relationship over time where it was something he wanted. In fact, he still continues to work out till this day. But it wasn't until that last 4-month period where he approached me and said, I'm ready to make some changes. Let's do this. And we did a methodical approach, and it clicked. It worked because we had built that relationship before, and because he had now 2.5 years of history of being consistent. So it's important to put this in context because one thing that trainers can do, a big mistake they can make, is that they push too hard too fast. Or they take it upon themselves and say, if this person's not doing everything, then I don't want to train them type of deal, which is a silly approach. They're showing up and they're there. Which is more than they were doing before. And it's chess, not checkers. It oftentimes is a slow, methodical process interrupted by little periods of sprints where they make all this progress, where they make all these changes, and then they don't do any for a long time, and sometimes they take steps back. But that's what our job is all about. It's coaching and guidance. It's not forcing. It's not getting them to get the fastest results in the shortest period possible. It's about long-term success, and oftentimes that looks like it's very, very slow.
That's a really tough thing to navigate, though, as a trainer. Like, you have somebody that's coming to you, hiring you to help them lose 30 pounds, build muscle, whatever. They have these specific goals they're coming to you with. That's a hard thing to navigate when you know the things that they need to do to get to those goals, but you're almost like your hands are tied because of the things that you can actually get them to commit to.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit more about what that conversation looks like when that does come up of like, I've been working with you for 6 months and I haven't lost the weight?
Yeah, no, great question. So first off, just a good exercise for trainers and coaches is because it's really easy to look at a client and judge their lack of maybe discipline or resolve in making particular changes because we figured fitness out, right? We're fitness fanatics. We're consistent at this. So it's easy to look at them and go, just do what I say. Just take these 3 steps. Just do it. You know,
so simple.
It's simple, but I would like a good exercise is to reflect on yourself and think of the things that you know you should do that you still don't. We all have those issues, whether it's in business or personal life or whatever. Like, why don't you just do that thing, right? It's hard for you. That's how they are with fitness. And the reason why I'm saying that is it'll give you some empathy and compassion for the challenge and the struggle. Now, the second part to that is you definitely want to communicate with empathy and compassion, and you want to be effective, but you should also be honest. Care or love, or however you want to place it, you care about this person, is honest. So when somebody approaches me and says, I haven't lost any weight in 6 months, I'm going to reply with an honest, observation. Well, that's because, Mrs. Johnson, you haven't changed your diet, and that's going to make the biggest difference with the scale. And now in that period of time, we've been working out, you've gotten stronger, you've improved your mobility. I think you enjoy working out with me. But the diet part is really what's missing. If you feel like you're ready, I think we can take one small step, start there, and it'll show us some results. And then that should help motivate you to take the next step. And I'm going to be here to coach you the entire time. What do you think? How do you feel? You want to do this? And it's the response is always positive. So be honest, be empathetic and compassionate, and realize that this is a long game that you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's say you get a client that just has all sorts of issues. Like they're starting from square one. You have to work on everything with them.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't do that all at once. You can't just throw everything at them at one time. What's typically like the hierarchy of things you're looking at? Like what do you prioritize first?
Okay, so first they're showing up to work out with me. So that's a big step. They weren't doing that before. So now they're here. Then I'm going to look at things that I know, small steps that will have a large return. So if their sleep is poor, I'm probably going to start there. I know when I improve somebody's sleep, you see lots of downstream effects on everything from mood, diet, motivation, exercise performance, muscle building, all that stuff. So I'll probably start there. The second thing would be hydration or small changes to diet that have a big impact. So like one change with diet would be, okay, I don't want you to eat any heavily processed foods Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday, one is okay. Something like that, right? We're going to start slow. It's going to be very individual. It depends on the person because, for example, tackling sleep with someone might be just too hard for them. They just like, I don't want to do a sleep routine and I love to stay up late and whatever. Yeah. In which case, I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. Okay, I had a client once who, when she hired me, she never worked out. She never really paid any attention to diet. This is how bad it was, okay? She didn't drink water. She literally drank 0 water. Yeah. So all she had was Diet Coke. That was her fluid. Her diet consisted of Hot Pockets, donuts, fast food or processed food. So there wasn't not a single whole food in her diet. So first off, showing up to work out, big deal. Congratulations, we're doing this. And so we started out by just being consistent with the workout. And the workouts were very regressed. I was having her sit down and stand up off of a bench. I'm having her reach up tall. That's our overhead press with no weight. I'm having her do an extremely regressed body weight row. In between all of this, a little bit of myofascial release, a little bit of stretching. We would maybe get through 3 exercises. What I was looking for was the next day when I would send her a message, how are you feeling? She would respond, wow, I don't feel that sore. And I actually feel pretty good. I feel more energy. And then we would start seeing some strength gains. And I'd point them out. You always have to point them out because people get lost in the whatever. And say, oh my God, last time you did 5, today you did 10. Like that's incredible. And then, you're getting them to see, wow, I'm starting to change and progress. The next thing I did with her is we started to look at her diet. And this was a big issue. In fact, she told me, I don't want to touch my diet. Yeah. But it eventually got to the point where she was open. And this is where it started. 1 glass of water. That was the dietary change that we made first. And what I told her, I said, all right, when you wake up in the morning, what I want you to do, we're going to start here, is I want you, before you do anything, drink a full glass of water, which was actually, and I'm not making this up, was actually challenging for her. She tried it and she's like, oh my God, I gagged. It was hard for me to drink the whole thing. It was so gross. This was her exact words. And it was shocking to hear. You'll run into some of this stuff as a trainer if you do it long enough. Eventually, it was consistent with that 1 glass of water. And then it turned into 1 fruit once a day. And I mean like a strawberry or half an apple. And she thought it was bland. I don't like it. I don't like the taste. And we just started. What I was trying to do is get her used to eating whole natural. Anyway, over the course of a couple years of working with her, I mean, the changes were dramatic by the end of that 2-year period from where she had started. She had gotten to a point where a majority of her diet was whole natural foods. She was still working out with me twice a week. She started walking every single day. She'd lost a lot of weight. Inflammation was down. She felt much better. But it started like super, super regressed back. Had I taken that client and tried to do too much all at once, A, she would probably left. Or I could be very convincing and motivating. Maybe I would convince her to do a bunch of stuff all at once, but she wouldn't have stuck around. I would have lost her. And that's the thing. Getting people started is hard. Getting them to stick around is even harder. That's the hardest thing. So that's the thing to consider with these clients is, here's number one. It's not getting them results. Every trainer thinks number one is get a client results. That's not it. For most clients, that's not it. That's what they think is to get results. But here's what your goal as a trainer. Can I help them develop a relationship with health where they enjoy it and they want to pursue it? Because that is what's going to fuel everything for the rest of their life. The results, believe it or not, is not what's going to fuel them. That's the evidence of what I'm talking about. And by the way, the data is clear on this. People lose weight and gain it back almost every single time they lose it. So how do we keep it off? I'm gonna try and create this situation with you over time where this is something you enjoy pursuing. This becomes a part of your life. And like I said earlier, it takes time.
I think nutrition is always really difficult with new clients.
Oh yeah.
I think that's where, as a new trainer, you probably struggle with the most is like trying to affect change in somebody's nutritional habits. What are some of the considerations what are some of the things you're looking at when deciding if you're going to have a client track or not track?
Good question. Good question. First, let me address what you said about diet. By far, not even in the same universe, it's far, far more challenging to get somebody to make consistent, effective dietary changes than it is to get them to work out. Right. As hard as it is to get somebody to be active daily and to exercise a couple days a week consistently, as hard as that is, it is infinitely more difficult to get them to permanently, positively affect or change their diet. And that's because diet, first off, you're not there all day long. Mm-hmm. I know when you show up, especially if you like me, which is my goal as a trainer, I'm going to make you want to come here to see me, not necessarily work out, but just come see me. If I can, when I do that, you're going to show up. You're going to be consistent. We're going to work out. That, done. I can do that almost every time. Yeah. Diet, good luck. That's difficult. You're dealing with every single day. You're dealing with emotions, celebrations, meetings, habits that they've developed over decades, oftentimes. So very, very difficult. Okay, now to answer the question, how do I know when to track and when not to track? I will start with tracking if the person has a good grasp already of nutrition, and if we're not dealing with any dysfunction with diet that looks like obsession. So if I have a client that comes to me who obsessively has been tracking for years, we're going to actually stop tracking. If I have a client who's had any eating disorders, if they say to me, oh yeah, I used to suffer from eating disorder or dysfunctional eating, then we're not going to track because that puts people, it can spiral or spin people.
Can you define obsessive a little bit more? Like, I think, it's a little bit more obvious when somebody comes to you and says like, I have a past eating disorder. Yes. But how do you spot like obsessive tendencies?
Do you track your calories and macros? Oh yeah, I've been doing it for 3 years consistently. Have you ever taken a break? No. I track everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a bit obsessive. Nobody should track their diet for 3 years. That's too much of a focus. Another one would be I only eat like this. This is what I have every single day. There's zero flexibility on it. Or I never go out with friends and eat because the food just, whatever. I know I'm going to eat bad. When I go on vacation, I count everything, type of deal. Like these are all red flags. Like, okay, we got to move you away from that because obsessively, orthorexia is a real thing. That's also an eating disorder. We're not making them healthy. They may eat in a perfect, quote unquote, perfect way, but that's not healthy. So I'll move that person away from tracking. But somebody who's like, I don't eat heavily processed foods. I've been working out for a little while. I definitely, I try to aim for protein. I'm healthy. I'm just, I'm trying to get that extra 3% body fat off or try to lose that extra 10 pounds. Then I'll be like, okay, let's track your calories and see where you're at, type of deal, and then take it from there. The other people that I'll have track are people who are competitors, athletes. We have a specific goal because then we got to get real targeted with the goal. But I'll be quite honest with you, Kyle. Ask me what percentage of my clients I had track. Very few, very small percentage. Most of my clients, if I did have them track, it was a very short period of time to get an idea. But for most clients, it looked like avoiding heavily processed foods, eating protein first, trying to listen to your body's signals, and then their body would fall into this nice, healthy body fat percentage, which for men looked something like 13 to 16%. For women, it looked like 19 to maybe 24, 23% is what it looked like.
So one of the things that I've found tracking to be so helpful or impactful for clients is just the awareness that it brings.
Yep.
If let's say you have a client that you decide you're not going to have track, are there other ways you can bring that awareness to like someone's nutritional behaviors?
Yeah, I would just show them what 30 grams of protein looks like. Okay. I would show them how much rice is 40 grams or 50 grams of carbs. I would show them how much fat or calories is in an avocado, what a medium-sized avocado looks like, stuff like that. Because when if I say to somebody, eat a high-protein breakfast, they're like, well, I have 2 eggs every morning. That's not enough, right? Yeah. So to give them an idea, I'd say, okay, well, I want you to eat about 30 grams of protein, 3 times a day. Now, what that looks like for breakfast is, and that does 5 eggs. 5 eggs would be that. Oh, I can't eat 5 eggs. Okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have, 3 eggs, and we're going to have this much, Greek yogurt or something like that, just to give people an idea. And typically, it's around protein because people don't have a good idea of what that looks like. And then it would maybe be around eating out. Okay, the typical, what's that meal you like to get from that particular restaurant? Let me just show you how many calories is in that. And they'd be, oh my God, I had no idea, type of deal. So it would really be just about like pictures and examples. So they have an idea. How many nuts, how many almonds is 100 calories? It's like 8 or something like that, right? So it's just to give them an idea so that they have, because there are, for most people, most everyday average people have if you tell them, what does 50 grams of protein look like when you have meat or when you have chicken or when you have eggs? What does 60 grams of carbs look like when you have some rice or some oatmeal? Like most people have no idea.
Yeah. One of the other, I think, really hard things, especially like, I can't speak for everybody, but I know the majority of the clients that I've worked with and the majority of the clients that we work with at Mind Pump, almost, 80% of the time at least, we're taking them through a reverse diet, like almost immediately when they come in. How do you take somebody through that like reverse dieting process without tracking? I found that to be very difficult.
It is very difficult.
Because you just don't know.
You don't know. So what you would do is you get average days of eating for them. And then you would add an example of a meal for them. So I would ask somebody, like, what do you typically eat on Mondays? What do you typically eat on Tuesdays? And then I'd say, okay, here's what we're going to do. I would like you to add a 300 calorie meal. And here's what that's going to look like. The other way I would do it is I'd say, okay, what you normally eat, I want you to eat 10% more, add 10% more to your plate. Now, this is not as accurate as tracking, but really it's about getting them to try to eat a little bit more, adding that extra shake or that extra meal. Now, oftentimes when you're reverse dieting, you have people who are restricting and or tracking, in which case I would just add the calories and show them how to track that.
Right. How do you handle the conversation that almost always comes up is the fear around eating more and when their goal is losing weight?
Yeah.
How do you handle that conversation?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Education. So I would talk about metabolic rate, building muscle, some of the things that we talk about, many things that we talk about on the podcast. Okay, so here's the deal. Your calories are low and you want to lose weight. Now I can cut your calories, but that's going to put you in a place of really low calories. And the second you move up from that, you'll gain the weight back. What I think is what I know to be a better strategy is to get your metabolism to get faster. And this is what that looks like. We're going to get stronger. We're going to build muscle. I'm going to feed that extra muscle. So you're going to have to actually increase your calories a bit. And we're going to get you to a better metabolic place. I'd like to get your calories up to a higher place so that when we cut from there, you lose body fat, but now you're left with calories that aren't feeling super restrictive. But then I would also communicate what's going to happen. You don't just reverse diet somebody and don't tell them what they're going to experience, right? Because otherwise they'll freak out. So it's like, okay, why don't we do the reverse diet? Here's what it's going to feel like. You're going to feel a little bigger. You're going to get stronger, but you're going to feel a little bigger. You may see a couple pounds or a few pounds go up on the scale. Totally normal. We're moving in the right direction. So expect that to happen. And I always will paint that picture. Otherwise, what will happen is they'll reverse diet and they'll come back. I thought you told me to reverse diet. Now I'm gaining weight. What the heck's going on? And then you have to kind of backtrack. Yeah. So always tell them, foreshadow. Here's what's going to happen. Here's why we're doing this. You're going to feel this way. That way, when they feel that way, oh, okay, my trainer told me.
Yeah, I can't emphasize that enough. Like that conversation it's inevitable. Like it comes up with just about every client that you're taking through a reverse dieting process. And 100%, the better you do at forecasting that and painting the picture of what it's going to look like, what it's going to happen, like it makes that conversation so much easier.
They don't panic.
Yeah.
They don't freak out.
It's still hard. It's still hard for them.
It is, but it's not unexpected.
They know you're in control.
Well, yes, and they trust you. Oh, Kyle told me this would happen.
Yeah.
Okay. This sucks, but he told me this would happen. Okay. And the more of the things that happen that you told him ahead of time, the more they're like, he knows what he's talking about. Yeah. This is exactly what he said. It's like, imagine going on a medication with a doctor and them not telling you, look, I know you're taking this medication for anxiety and it's going to give you more anxiety before it gets better. They don't say that. You just take it and you get more anxiety. You're done. Like, why am I taking this med in the first place? But if you go on it and the doctor's like, look, for the first week, it actually probably will get a little worse. And you're like, okay, it's worse. He told me this was going to happen. I'm going to stay the course. The most powerful asset you have as a trainer with your client is trust. Forecasting builds trust. Them being surprised by something actually breaks trust because then it's like, he didn't tell me. Then they come to you. This is a bad position to be in. You can recover from this, but if this happens too often, it's hard to recover from. Where they come to you and go, you didn't tell me this would happen. And then you're like, oh, well, that's because this would happen and you're more muscle glycogen. And of course you're going to gain a couple pounds. Yeah. Now you just sound like you're trying to cover your tracks.
Yeah. What are some other ways that you can build trust early on with the client? Because I mean, that's something that like it takes a little bit of time for like that process to kind of unfold to continue building that trust from that situation. What are other ways that you can build trust like quicker, like right away with a client?
Forecasting is the best. Consistency, honesty. When you don't know something, letting them know, I don't know the answer to that, but let me find that out for you. Being authentic about yourself. Oh, I struggle with that quite a bit. I have a lot of clients that struggle with that. And just being as authentic as possible. But the more that what you say is going to happen happens, the more trust that you build. Being likable helps a lot as well. That doesn't last, however, if you're forecasting, if you're not forecasting well. Mm-hmm. And then when those things happen that you said, you point them out. Remember I told you this would happen? I like to forecast things that are pretty guaranteed. So, hey, here's what's going to happen. You're actually going to get stronger pretty quickly in the first month. So I would expect this to go up by about 5 to 10 pounds on the bar. And, I know your shoulder kind of hurt. After we do this mobility, it'll probably feel a little bit better. Those types of things make a big difference. And then when they trust you, here's the deal. This doesn't guarantee that they're going to do everything you say. But when they don't trust you, that guarantees they'll do nothing that you say. So trust is extremely, I got to the point with clients that were with me for years and years and years where like whatever I said, they 100% believed because I gave them every reason to believe that I was telling them the truth.
Yeah. Now, how do you, and I don't know, maybe it's this trust conversation we're having, but I found that early on as a trainer, it's one of the tough things to do is properly keep clients accountable.
Yeah.
Without being like overbearing or too much. How do you do that? How do you get better at keeping clients accountable to the things that you're having them do without crossing that line into like it's too much or like you're being overbearing?
Yeah, no, you check in with them, and then when it doesn't happen, empathize. Yeah, I know it's tough. Let's get back on track. If this happens 2 or 3 times in a row, then what you do is you let them know, look, this step is a little bit too aggressive. We're going to take a step back. I'm not going to actually track this. We're going to move to something different. And I'll let you know when I think we're ready to go back to it. Sometimes they say, no, I want to get back on it. And you say, listen, it's not a big deal. In fact, this is how most people react to this. If you think you want to continue, we can do this. So holding them accountable is great, always with empathy, care, don't allow them to go down the shame spiral. How do you do that? This is normal. Yes, of course, this is super difficult. Look, my job is to coach you and guide you through this process. And it may take a while, but we're going to continue to move forward, however slow that may be. But the most important thing to me is, do you enjoy doing this? And they say, yeah, I do. Awesome. So do I. Like those kind of conversations make a huge difference. But yeah, I'll give you a good example of accountability. A simple one, right? Them showing up for their sessions. I had clients that were super busy business people where they would sometimes give me last minute no-show type of deal. Now, in my agreement, in my contract, they had to give me 24-hour advance notice or I would charge them, which, by the way, I never did. But it was in my agreement if I had to do that. So they would miss a session and I'd say, hey, it's not a big deal. It's not 24 hours, but it's not a big deal. I'm not going to charge you. Let's schedule again. Once this happened 2 or 3 times, say, look, it looks like it's hard for you. This is accountability, right? Looks like this is really hard for you to be consistent. I'm gonna have somebody else train at that time for now. But let me know when you feel like your schedule is getting a little bit more consistent, and I'll fit you in somewhere else. And that was fine. It's respectful. They respected me. I mean, I had a handful of clients that were like that, where they would go through these periods of it was inconsistent because their work got just insane, and they were totally cool with it. And then they'd come back and I'd put them on the schedule if I could fit them, and I would go out of my way to try to fit them to really foster that relationship, and then we would move forward.
Yeah, I found a lot of times too, like just having the conversation, like, is accountability. A lot of times, like a lot of the clients that I've trained are pretty tough on themselves. So just even just asking the question, like, frequently of like, hey, you know, that protein goal that we had, like, how do you feel like you're doing with that? I mean, they'll tell you, like, most clients, not all of them, but a lot of the clients that I've trained will say, like, to be honest, like, I've kind of been having a hard time with that. I've not been doing very well with it. And then that opens up a conversation, and that's accountability too.
100%. And look, trainers fall into this trap where either your client wants so badly to impress you because you've created this ridiculous standard, or they're afraid to let you down because the last time they didn't make them feel good because of the way you talk to them. Then they start lying to you. You are no longer an effective trainer. And this will happen. This will happen if you don't foster a good relationship with the client. They will lie to you. They will not write things down. They will not tell you when they go off or when they miss, because either I'm so afraid of letting this person down and it's embarrassing, in which case they don't feel like they can let you down, that's your mistake as a trainer. Or B, man, the last time, I told him that I wasn't able to do this thing and he came down on me. I thought you were serious about your results. Like, you said you really wanted to do this. Like, we need to do this, that type of that kind of talk that very few people respond really well to. Both scenarios will create a situation with a client where they will lie to you. And once a client isn't telling you everything, you are no longer effective and you can no longer help them.
Yeah. I mean, it's game over at that point. Like, and I think everything that we've kind of covered today, I think comes down to just building connection and having a good relationship with a client. Like
Yes.
I've known a lot of trainers that were, by trainer standards, not the smartest or the best trainers. They didn't understand programming the best, but they were just really good people. Like they were just good at building relationships and friendly, and people wanted to be around them.
That's right.
10 times out of 10, they were the most effective trainers.
Yes.
As long as they're not giving like terrible advice.
Right.
But, that's easy. It's easy to not give terrible advice.
Listen, this is the base. Like here's the base right here. Like this is like the minimum. Proper exercise, proper technique. Don't hurt your client. Workouts that aren't, terrible. They're at least moving them in the right direction type stuff. That's the base. Like you better have that as a trainer. Now, what moves you above that is what you just said. Can you create this relationship with people where they want your guidance, where when they mess up, they tell you humbly and they feel like you got their back, not like they're afraid of you, not like they're letting you down so much that, oh my gosh, type of deal. That's the key. And again, to put it differently, most everyday people, if we can get them to do 2 structured workouts a week. Now, daily activity is another thing. So being active daily, that's another conversation. I think that's not hard, but 2 structured 1-hour workouts a week for most people for the rest of their life is a huge accomplishment. What drives that? You've got somebody who's not a fitness fanatic. Stop trying to create fitness fanatics. There's trainers and people who work in the fitness industry. Those are fitness fanatics. Most people are not fitness fanatics. Can I get a non-fitness fanatic, somebody who has passions for their family and their work and other things? Can I get this person to want to work out twice a week for the rest of their life? That's my goal. And if I can do that, I win.
Yeah. And I think that, and I hope that makes a lot of new trainers feel better. Cause I remember myself like feeling very like insecure about like, I need to learn more about biomechanics, about nutrition science and stuff. Like every new trainer feels like that. So I think that's comforting to hear too, where it's like, no, don't worry about that stuff. Like as long as you're just giving basic good advice, it's like, just focus on being likable and having a good relationship and just being supportive.
That's right. 100%. Honest. Again, this doesn't mean you're not honest with the person. You're afraid to tell them the truth. Tell them the truth. But that's 100% the key. And look, 99% of the advanced information you'll learn, you'll never even apply to the average person because the average person will never even be ready.
Well, that was a disappointing thing that I found out after going through all the education and being like, oh, well, this is cool, but I didn't really learn anything else that was super applicable.
No. Now here's what I'll tell you what, like you might get the occasional client, very small percentage of your clients are going to be those people where you'll apply this advanced stuff, in which case that's cool.
And it's fun.
But here's where the benefit comes from. And so I'm going to continue to encourage trainers to continue learning. Here's what happens. You go get a new certification. You know what happens? You have a new zest and passion for what you do. And that shows. I come back and I just learned a different method of correctional exercise, a different way to do stretching, different types of programming. And even though I have a client that I can only apply 1% of that to, the enthusiasm and excitement that I have around this new thing that I learned, it shows. So keep learning or you will be stagnant. Keep learning because it keeps you excited to keep doing what you're doing. So definitely don't stop learning because you're not going to apply it all. That, I don't want people to take that away. Keep learning. But also the most important thing that you could do with your client is to create that relationship with them.
That's it.